Hey, welcome back. So I've been making tons of these Dungeon Dragons online, new player guide type videos, trying to share the word a little bit. They're not monetized or anything, and it's been fun to do because I've had a good time coming back to the game. We just used this little ranger scrub. He's like level 6 now. I don't think I'll be able to get him to level 11, good lord no, before the expansion comes out. But I still wanted to continue to try to make some new player content as opposed to trying to race to 11 and power gaming him so I can participate in the expansion. But today's video, it's going to be about gear and making decisions about what's an upgrade for you. And this is kind of coming from the perspective that you're maybe an older player and you played Dungeons & Dragons 3.0 or 3.5 a long time ago and you remember some of the rules, but maybe you dabbled in 4th edition or you played, Paizo's Pathfinder 1 or Pathfinder 2, or you're playing 5th edition with your kids because that's what they're playing these days. There's some basics you need to know, and we're just going to use our shared bank account over here. And let's pretend we want to see if my higher level character has any gear they put in the shared account that's going to be of merit to me. But before we do that, the basic thing you need to know is when you created the character in the very beginning, or when you can go back and start creating a brand new character and investigate all of them, is pay attention to what their primary statistic is, right? And you can go to the DDO wiki and type in if it's a class you don't really understand or something like that. If you haven't really been a TTRPG player, don't have the books, right? You don't really remember, you don't even know what finesse weapons even are, etc. So we're going to talk about that stuff really, really quickly. For the ranger, I want everything in dexterity. Dexterity is going to, get my armor class boosted. It's going to help me with my roll to hit. It gives me great reflex saves. A lot of the traps are projectile oriented. If you're playing like a cleric, you're going to be wisdom based. If you're playing a fighter, you're going to be fighter. You're going to have strength based, and you're going to have constitution for hit points. And all these things are basics with D&D. The second thing you need to pay attention to is your class will come with pre-baked, already known feats. So for people who aren't big TTRPG players, feats are in essence they're almost like a proficiency, right? So for example, let's say you are proficient in light armor and you're playing like a caster class, but you're not proficient in medium and you're not proficient in heavy. So if you put that kind of armor on, you're going to have some kind of a penalty. And a lot of times you can mouse over an object and see, okay, in this situation, I don't meet the minimum level requirements for this, but you may find another piece of gear like this one right here. This is minimal level 7. This is minimal level 7. You may find a piece of gear that you don't have proficiency on, right? So light armor requires a proficiency. Medium requires a proficiency, which is like scale and a little heavier chainmails. And plate mail and heavy armor requires a proficiency. Armor will give you what's called a number of statistics right at the top you need to take a look at. Let's look here in the upper right-hand corner. +2 insulated, 11 mithril chain shirt. Mithril's great. Negative resistance 4 light armor. You're like, huh? +2. Okay, is that good? Minimal level's 3. Armor bonus with dexterity equals +13. Okay? Armor bonus is normally 6. So it's taken into consideration my dexterity bonus, right? But my dexterity bonus is 7, right? So that can be a little confusing, but when you're analyzing the armor, just really you can obviously just put it on and take it back off, but you can't do that if you're at the end of a quest situation. Now, if you go to a chest along the way, mid-quest, grab everything, take a moment, equip it, unequip it, and my God, armor class is king. We used to say this in EverQuest 1, armor is king. Why? Armor class is what's rolled against to see if you get hit with melee and projectile weapons. That's the best way to get killed quickly. Being hit by ranged attacks, being meleeed to death and surrounded, because as you've seen, all the enemies like to surround you. Yes, you need resistances that are going to come from saving throws and maybe some mitigation to things like acid and fire and crap, but you can't really hyper-focus on that. The number one thing you have to keep increasing as you get higher and higher level is your armor class. So you want that number to get higher and higher and higher. For example, this piece here, if I could wear it, right? Let's go ahead and put it in my inventory so that you can do a comparison between that and what I'm wearing. I'm going to drag it and put it up here. Now it'll actually compare versus what I've currently equipped on the right versus this on the left. So medium armor proficiency, I don't have it. So I'd have an attack penalty of -2%. It says minimum level 7, that's pretty obvious. Absolute minimum level 4, that's a little confusing. But the armor bonus with dexterity is 15. So this is why this is in my shared account and saved. Later on, I might pick up medium armor as a feat when I get to pick a feat that's not going to be DPS or damage oriented, and that armor bonus will be +9. That would be a boost for me if I had medium armor proficiency. And you have to say to yourself, well, what proficiencies do I actually have? Well, you can go to the C for your character sheet and go through feats, and you can look through here and see, okay, there's lots and lots and lots and lots of feat. And you can see I have light armor proficiency. And just mouse over it for a second, I'll tell you what's going on. Like if you wear armor, arcane spells, spell casting gives you a percentage chance to fail. So even though I'm wearing this, which is light armor, I still have a 5% spell failure chance. That's why the casters want to be in robes if possible. But if this had said I had also medium armor proficiency, then later on when I hit level 7 in the next level, I could put this on and there'd be no attack penalty. Now it says 2%. Now if you think of a D20 roll, that would be 100 divided by 20 would be 5. Every number on the D20 die would then represent a 5% chance. So this is a minus 2% chance. So it's a little confusing because they have some MMO language in here. But the most basic thing to think about is, okay, will this give me more armor? It says max dex bonus 6, caps your dex bonus to AC. This is something that's related to the type of armor it is. An armor check penalty -2, a spell failure 20%. But hey, I saved this for a reason, right? Fire happens all the time. It's got fire resist at the bottom, right? It has this enhancement bonus of +3. If it says +3 at the top, that's what it means. The second word, vitality, means what it's kind of like an implicit and explicit modifier in Path of Exile 1 and 2, and also in Diablo 4, or even in Last Epoch, or even Grim Dawn. Vitality means +6 vitality bonus to hit points. So if I were to wear this, I would gain more hit points. So this is something I wanted to save. I can't use it right now. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, hey, if I get another feat, have I picked up all the range feats? So therefore, I want to be able to equip this at a later date. I'm going to put it back in my shared stash, which will only hold 35. So armor. Remember, you need to have the proficiency to wear the armor. You can pick up the proficiency later, right? If you're a caster, you're more worried about spells failing. If you're attacking and with melee, martial weapons, or ranged weapons, you want to make sure you hit things. And that's where the penalties really come from. It's the same thing with weapons. You can see I have this ranger has a martial weapon proficiency. Came with that. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's simple, martial, and exotic weapons. And they're basically a series of weapons that have classifications on them. Like simple weapons are things like a club, a dart, a dagger. And and then one thing they did really well in DDO, they made the heavy crossbow considered a simple weapon. That means if you play a level 1 rogue and you get a really powerful heavy crossbow, right, or a thief or whatever you want to call them, you can get some really cool talents that make heavy crossbows hit really hard. Of course, also a light crossbow, even a mage can use that. A light mace, a lot of the mage items are kind of like these little wands, and you can use those to be considered a light mace. A sickle, morning star, quarterstaff, etc. So if you have any character in the game, it's going to start off with a simple weapon proficiency. Martial weapons end up being the heavier hitting ones that require more skill, like a battle axe, falchion, longbow, warhammer. For example, my wife's paladin has a favored weapon of a warhammer, etc. And exotic weapons are, think of it as cultural weapons from around the world besides, European Middle Ages thinking. Things like repeating heavy crossbows and dwarven axes, a kama, a kopesh, things like that. So you need to make sure you have a proficiency in a weapon if you're going to try to use it. Let's see if we got any examples, anything we can show here. No, not really. Most of the time I try to save stuff that no one can ever use. Ones that have like holy and unholy, good and bad, chaos versus law, that's pretty obvious. So, you know which armor you need to equip. You can look at the number on the armor in your inventory. Like here's a little piece of cloth gear, right? This only gives you an armor bonus of 3, right? And some move silent and radiance for light and alignment spell power. That's not really going to benefit me. I'm more of a archery / melee oriented class. This is something you give to a caster. It has no casting spell failure on it at all. It's basically like a cloth robe. It is a robe. It even says the word robe on it. So those are things you need to think about. It's the same thing with shields. For example, I have a little necromancer dude who casts a spell on himself so he can use a shield. So he runs around the shield and a little mace and stuff, and he summons like a skeletal knight and all this kind of crap. Okay, so when you're looking at gear that's in a box, you need to come to the table already understanding what your proficiency are for weapon, what your proficiency are for armor, and if you got a shield, yes or no. If you're a shield user, you'll figure that out pretty quickly as well. You don't want penalties to your attack rolls. If you're a caster, you don't want penalties to having your spells failing. If you equip a weapon like a two-handed weapon that you can't use, you get like a -4 to hit, and you don't want that, especially if you're dual wielding as a ranger, which already has some penalties associated with it. And it's really not that bad. Remember, all the chests that you encounter in mid-adventure are just loot it all. It's just a loot all situation. The only really time you really need to make this kind of decision that's kind of tough is at the end of the adventure where you go back to the original quest giver and he's got all these rewards and it just says choose one. And if you watch some other videos, there's like 30 of them now, you'll see sometimes I'll just pick something because it's its value and I'll just sell it because I want to build up some platinum. That's a pretty short video. That's all I really want to go over. It's not too hard. There is another YouTuber, I think his name's Strimtom, or I can't pronounce it properly. Super advanced player, played the game for a long time. He talks about all the other details like deadly and vorpal and all that, but for a basic player, just understand how the proficiency for armor works, for weapons work, the 3 different classifications of armor, the 3 different classifications for weapon. Try to pick things that are going to benefit you. And you may have a situation where like, hey, you know, these boots are okay if I was playing, you know, a rogue, but they don't really benefit me. I mean, for example, compare them to what I'm wearing right now. Right now, I'm wearing this +3 Constitution. I definitely want to get your attributes or characteristics, you know, up as high as possible. That's going to give me more health over time if I get to the threshold of it actually giving me a bonus. You can actually see right here. Constitution, I get +2 bonus on my hit points. And remember, you can always go in here and just mouse over stuff and read what's going on. How does it affect your character? What does it do? Where's it coming from? Just take the time to read that stuff. And that's the best way to go about it. Armor class is king, right? Bonus to attack is king. Remember, moving reduces this. Stay within your proficiencies and you'll be golden. Okay, that's it for today. We'll talk to you again real soon. Let me know if there's something that you want to know more details about. I can even go research it for you, even though I'm not nearly as hardcore as some of these other YouTubers are. But for basic materials, that's what you really need to do starting out playing DDO. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.